I want to bring to your attention, in furtherance of my defense to access to education, I want to bring to you the realization at the global level through United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, what they call DISA, in their guiding mantra for the next 30 to 50 years. United Nations has identified that education is not just a right, but education is a single most investment that you can make to a child's life. That is United Nations DESA guiding principle. And in furtherance to it, they say that access to quality education is not a privilege, but it is indeed a basic human right. Do you remember things we used to call Millennium Development Goals? And are you aware they changed? They were transformed into the word millennium replaced with sustainable. So we now have SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. The goal number 4 is about education, the quality education, the access, the steps that states must take, the timelines, and the parities that the state must defeat to access education to both the girl and the boy. There is something here that I would want to bring to your attention within the same goal 4, that education has to be inclusive and it has to be equitable quality education. And every state, every country, every government in the world has to reduce all the disparities that hinders education access. If that is money, governments have to subsidize education. If that is war, government has to use humanitarian instruments, humanitarian tools to access education. That is why in the laws of war, in the international humanitarian law, that in places where belligerents are exchanging fire, schools must be kept out of the target. And children who are going to school, buses that are failing these children to school, residences within the school must not be touched. I hope the ongoing war in Ukraine and Russia isn't doing this. I hope Gaza and Israel are not touching schools, because SDG protects the national international laws of war, also protect schools as salient institutions that must not be touched. So government, especially in Africa, in countries that are peaceful, must access education and reduce disparities, because the major problems here is the cost that education has. So at the global level, the access to education has been well cut out. But it is in our constitution, in our national law, that I find the most progressive, the most and the boldest and the most forthright constitutional requirements that forces the government, outlines the way and clears all the barriers. Do you know what Article 53 and Article 55 portends for our education? Well, you can flip through your constitution, but I'll read for you Article 53, sub Article 1F. Every child has the right to free and compulsory education. Okay, well, I produce a Kikuyu version of this, but for those who want to hear Swahili, kwamba kila mtoto aliyezaliwa Mkenya ana haki ya elimu ya bure ya hadhi ya juu. Free elimu ya bure ama elimu isiyo na malipo, and compulsory na cha lazima. So those people who always questioned us with Professor Magoha and Uhuru Kenyatta, why we wrapped up all the children through rapid result initiative, which we called 100% transition to secondary school. This is where we got the legal backing that education, which is basic, has to be free and compulsory. Now, Basic Education Act 2012 define basic education as from PP1 to Form 4. Now it has to be grade, I think, 13. So, every child in Kenya has a right to free education from nursery school to Form 4. That is why we forced every child who completed class 8. We went to the slums. This government is going to the slums to destroy houses and homes. This government is going to destroy churches and schools that have been built on riparian land. Under the government of Uhuru Kenyatta, which I served as an assistant minister, we went to the slums to smoke out children to go to school. Actually, there's a lady who called me last week, and she was telling me that her child that we took to Precious Blood Leruta got an A-, and Kenya Commercial Bank has picked her to educate her. The rest are details. So she was telling me to go for a Thanksgiving ceremony in a church, but I didn't manage. She said, you and Professor Magoha forced me to take the child to school. She was a lady. I thought this girl, after performing well, I had no money. I had planned that she would be married. This is what the effect of an effective government can reach. So our government should be guided by this constitutional principle that even if we are collecting only 1 billion shillings, 99% should go to schools, should go to education. This CDF has to be utilized beyond 35%. Bursary has to be increased to 70% so that our children can access education. Article 55 goes ahead to force the government, because here it says the state shall take measures including affirmative action programs to ensure that the youth access relevant education and training. Now, this Article 55 is the one that guided us to subsidize TVET and force Form 4 candidates to do a skill. Do you get it? Our education program under President Kenyatta was comprehensive. That after primary school, we have to force you to high school. After secondary school, we will have to force you, even if you got an E. I went around the country, 46 counties, telling young people, even if you got an E, enroll in your nearest vocational center. Do a course. A course is taught in your mother's tongue. Do a course. Once you become a mason, a plumber, a painter, an electrician, you will feed yourself and feed your family. Because Article 55 mandated us, the government then, to do what was necessary. What was necessary then? To open, develop, and provide funding for TVET. When we left TVET, we were giving money, free money for students to enroll. Today, I am called by principals all over, and they tell me this money has been reduced. I tell them, this is a way of saying, hallelujah, son of a poor man has become president, and hail ye the king. Everything is okay. Everything is okay. It shall be all right under the son of a poor man. Who understands the problem of the poor? Who feels the poor's problem? Who feed them, clothe them, shelter them, and who give them free money every time they have needed this money? Education is a right, and Parliament must hear this and force money to be allocated. If you continue reducing money in education sector, if you continue defunding, what are you doing? What are you doing, Parliament? Are you not killing the future? Are you not retarding the generations ahead? But perhaps you don't care. But you should care, because these children who shall not access education, when they shall become poor, because poor shall they become, they shall eat the children of the rich, and they shall make your neighborhood horrible. They shall make your security horrible. Earlier now, the better. Live long, my republic. Live long, Kenya. Live long, my people.